When I finished Shadow of the Erdtree, I wasn't excited. I was relieved. Relieved that it was over. And that feeling surprised me. Because this is Elden Ring. A game that once made me lose hours just wandering. But this time, I wasn't chasing wonder. I was finishing something. Shadow of the Erdtree feels emptier, not just in its world, but in how it feels to move through it. And maybe that's because this DLC isn't about discovery anymore. It's about what's left after the magic is gone. Shadow of the Erdtree's world is huge, bigger than it looks, bigger than it feels at first. There are massive regions, entire zones, finger ruins, plains that stretch for minutes, and a lot of it is quiet, not dangerous, not hostile, just empty. In the base game, emptiness felt like a mystery. You'd see ruin in the distance and think, there has to be something there. Here, you walk for minutes and find nothing. No weapons, no spell, no meaningful reward. The finger ruins are the clearest example of this. They look important, ancient, and purposeful. And then you realize they're mostly just there for a side quest. This DLC isn't empty because it lacks content. It's empty because it refuses to bribe you. It doesn't reward curiosity the way Elden Ring did. And that changes how exploration feels. In Elden Ring, I explored because I wanted to. Here, I explored because it felt like I should. Like finishing a checklist. The world isn't pulling you forward anymore. It's waiting for you to be done. And that's the uncomfortable truth. This world feels empty not because it lacks meaning, but because I already understand it. I know what danger looks like. I know what reward usually means. So the magic doesn't hit the same. And then the game does something interesting. Instead of giving me more to discover, it takes something away. That's when Shadow of the Erdtree stops feeling empty and starts feeling intentional. There's one place in Shadow of the Erdtree where the emptiness stops feeling neutral. The Abyssal Woods. Up until now, the DLC felt quiet. Here, it feels aware. You slow down instinctively. Not because you die, but because something feels wrong. It's not difficulty, it's unease. I didn't feel like I should be here because I was underleveled. I felt like I shouldn't be here because the game didn't want me to rush. The Abyssal Woods forces a different rhythm. You stop riding, stop looting, and you start listening. It feels closer to a horror game than a regular area of the map. Not because something jumps at you. Well, maybe these guys do, but because the atmosphere feels quiet and dark. This is the first time in the DLC where the game doesn't reward mastery anymore. Every habit that you built in Elden Ring feels suddenly unsafe. Enemies here specifically don't feel aggressive, they feel observant, like they're waiting for you to move the wrong way. This is the game asking something different. Not can you win, but can you sit with discomfort? And this is where the emptiness finally makes sense. The DLC feels lonelier than the base game, not because there's less content, but because you no longer knew. Limgrave felt alive because everything was unknown. Here, I know what I'm doing, so the world feels quieter, like an afterlife. Like in the base game, curiosity was constantly rewarded. Here, curiosity often leads to just more space. Shadow of the Erdtree isn't trying to recreate wonder. It's showing you what comes after. After mastery, after obsession, and after the chase. And once the game strips away wonder, all that's left is confrontation. Not just with the enemies, but with yourself. But the Abyssal Woods aren't empty for no reason. In the middle of all that fog, all that tension, you stumble into something unexpected. Midra's Manse. And for the first time in a while, the DLC feels rewarding. Not because there's great loot, not because you suddenly get stronger, but because you get relief. After being watched, after being slowed down, after walking on edge for so long, finding shelter feels like progress. That's the kind of reward Shadow of Erdtree is interested in. Not power, not numbers, but emotional release. The untouchables are a big reason why. They're not just hard enemies, they force you to move carefully, slowly, to respect the space. So when you finally make it through, the reward isn't a weapon, it's relief. That's when it clicked for me. Shadow of the Erdtree doesn't remove rewards, it replaces them. With moments of safety, moments of calm, moments where the game finally lets you breathe. That's why the bosses don't feel like milestones this time, they feel like conclusions. Boss fights are usually where soul games peak. No, not this guy. That's where fear turns into adrenaline and victory turns into relief. But in Shadow of the Erdtree, most wins didn't feel like triumph, they felt quiet. I wasn't hyped or celebrating, I was just ready to move on. And that's not because the bosses are easy. Some of them are brutal, annoying, overwhelming, but the feeling after beating them is kinda different. In the base game, wins felt joyful. Here, they feel emptier, like checking something off. Even when I cheesed a fight, I laughed, but it wasn't satisfying because by now, I already know how this works. There was one exception though. The fight didn't feel fair. It felt like the game was waiting for me to mess up. And when I finally beat him, or cheesed him, the relief came back. Not joy, just relief.
Promise you a 1,000-year voyage guided by compassion.
The feeling that you just survived. Bale was different too. Hard, demanding, and rewarding. Beating him felt earned, not loud, but just complete. That's when it clicked. Shadow of the Erdtree isn't trying to recreate the thrill of learning, it's showing you what mastery feels like. Quieter, lonelier, and heavier. You don't wonder anymore, because wonder belongs to beginners, and Shadow of the Erdtree knows you're not one anymore. That's why finishing this DLC didn't feel like an ending, it felt like an aftermath. And once you accept that, everything about this game makes sense.
With a hail of harpoons! With every last drop of
When I started Shadow of the Erdtree, I expected to feel wonder again. New areas, new bosses, new mysteries. But what I didn't expect was to feel finished. Not because the DLC was bad, but because it wasn't trying to give me what Elden Ring already had. Shadow of the Erdtree isn't about becoming someone new. It's about showing you who you already are after the journey is over. That's why the world feels emptier. Because curiosity has been replaced by experience. Wonder has been replaced by memory. And maybe that's the point. Some games teach you how to begin. Shadow of the Erdtree teaches you how it feels to finish. Not with fireworks, but with quiet. Because not every ending needs to be loud. Sometimes the magic doesn't come back. If this video made you stop for a second, you'll probably like what I make next. You can subscribe if you want to stay. Thank you and have a nice day.